Today we are going to take a look at the new Gravis Captain for the... Wait, no, hang on. I was so full of hope at the start of this week that we would be able to just do videos every day, all the time, cover all the stuff that we've missed. But you know that thing where you turn your computer off and then you go away for a week and then you turn it back on and then everything breaks? Yeah, pretty much that. I've spent the last 2 days just trying to make this thing not be terrible again. So apologies, we're even further behind than I thought we would be at this point, but it's fine because I've kind of got things back up and running now, which means we can take a look at the Leagues of Votann Kâhl, which I know I said looked like a Gravis Captain, but that's only because, just for me at least, it really reminds me of the one you got from Dark Imperium. It just really has that sort of feel to it. Now, in my defense, I do feel like with the segmented layered chest armor, the overall pose with the hand raised up with the weapon, the fact that you've got a close combat and a melee in the other, although I believe the Dark Imperium guy had one of the Gravis fists, so maybe not quite the same. There's just something about it that as soon as I saw it, I was like, that really reminds me of that specific model. And I mean, having seen both of them next to each other, at least pictures, I can see why I thought that, but maybe it's a little bit unfair to just reduce it to looking like a Gravis Captain, because it does have its own personality. He's got the now traditional Leagues of Votann dragon's head coming out the back of the armor there, which I go back and forth on. I kind of like it, but then I don't like it, but then I do like it, but then I'm not really sure. This is no exception to that. And I have to admit, from all of the stuff that this guy has got, the main thing that I like is the coat. That is a fancy coat. I like the fact that his armour has a built-in coat. You know that you're important when your armour has a coat built into it, just specifically to make you look cooler when you're standing on not one, but two tactical rocks. And I suppose the big question of the day is, does it matter if this guy is on two tactical rocks? Is in fact two tactical rocks exactly what you want from someone who is, quite literally, a miner, or at least does mining? The Leagues of Votann, they've got a heavy mining feel to them. I mean, surely two tactical rocks is, in this case, actually one of the few times where it suits, where it matches, where it works? Or are we just well beyond the point of tactical rock saturation, where even the context of the model on the rock doesn't actually make the rock okay? I've now said the word rock too many times, and it feels like it's lost all meaning to me, so I'm going to stop. Overall, I mean, this guy, he looks fine. He looks decent. I like the added detailing of the runes and the carvings, both on the coat and the belt and on the shoulder pads. Those are some nice details. I like the fact that the armour still has that kind of industrial feel to it. It feels less purpose-built for combat and more adapted for it, which honestly I think suits the kind of overall feel of these guys. So yeah, I quite like it. It's okay. We have got some options. There's what looks like a nice Volkite weapon there instead of the Stormbolter that was up there previously, which probably isn't going to be called a Stormbolter. I'm sure they will have listed what it was. A lot of the weapons for the Leagues of Votann, I have to admit, I kind of look at them and I go, oh, that is going to be slightly differently named, but almost identical to something that we already have, because the technology is pretty much the same origin as the Imperium stuff. So there's a lot of crossover and a lot of stuff that is effectively, look, it's just a power weapon, or look, it's just a bolter, but it's called something slightly different because you've got to make that distinction, otherwise it's just going to be weird and not fun. But yeah, we've got Volkite, we've got a big punchy fist with some nice detailing on the back there, which looks kind of cool. I like the design of that. I like the design of that fist. That's a cool fist. I like a good power fist. That is a good power fist. Read into that what you will, but don't tell me what you were thinking. I don't want to know. Also, the helmet, I really like that helmet, but to be honest, it just looks like Kharadron Overlord stuff to me. Like, that is super... That helmet changes the whole feel of that entire model, because the Kharadron Overlords have had that exact style of hat, effectively, from when they were released. Like, the whole thing with the Kharadron Overlords, when they first showed up, when Games Workshop first revealed them, I joked about the idea that they looked at squats and went, we should do squats again, but in Age of Sigmar, not in 40k. And honestly, I still feel like that stands in some ways, but it especially feels like that with that particular helmet on this Kâhl, because I just look at that and I see a bit from a Kharadron Overlords box. And that's fine. I like the Kharadron Overlords. They're a really cool faction. I really like their models. But that feels like cross-system stuff. Like, it feels like it's something directly taken from Age of Sigmar. And of course, if you want to do the kind of dwarven aesthetic, if you want to do fantasy dwarves in space, which is what these are, then you need to kind of preserve that in some way. Like, I feel like the occasional helmet that looks like a dwarven face, that works perfectly well. That's absolutely fine. I have no complaints. But it does feel very Kharadron Overlords, which is just because they came first when it comes to these kind of big refreshes. So that's the only thing. It takes me out of it a little bit, but it does make me wonder also what other Kharadron Overlord stuff would work on the Leagues of Votann, because I'm assuming a good chunk of it, you could get some really like steampunky kind of like approaches to Leagues of Votann if you mix and match bits out of the Kharadron Overlord stuff. So on the one hand, looks a little bit out of place, but not exactly. On the other hand, imagine what else you could do. Finally, I will say that this does not help the idea of them looking very similar to the Gravis Captain, because that looks very much that basically just looks like a Gravis Captain, because there's no real sense of scale here, because there's nothing directly to compare the Leagues of Votann forces with in this image. That just looks like a Space Marine dude with a interesting helmet to me. That actually could be pretty much any kind of Space Marine armor with just a cool helmet. And if you just showed that to someone who had the idea of what Space Marines are and went, okay, what's that? I feel like they would just say that's a Space Marine. I feel like they would just say that that is a chunky, girthy, possibly could do with eating a few fewer pies a month, which I'm right there with him. That's not a judgment. I'm in the same boat, and it has to be quite a large boat. I feel like they would just go, that's just a chunky Space Marine. That maybe suggests that there isn't quite enough separation in terms of design, but it could also be that that's just because this image does not have a particular like scale reference, and this particular model is super similar to something that we've already seen before, or at least artwork-wise it makes it look like that. I think overall it's just a generic HQ unit. This dude looks perfectly good, that's absolutely fine, but at this point I really want to see something that is like a little bit out there. I want to see them really push it a bit, and I don't know, like if we do get like a proper land train, that would be awesome. Like if we could have something like that that's probably taken from squats of old and then reinterpreted, that would be fantastic. I'm not holding my breath, but I just feel like then there needs to be some sort of big centerpiece thing that's just 100%, you look at it, you know exactly what that is straight away. It's just out there. It's something that no one else has got. That's kind of what I'm hoping for at some point in the future. Whether we'll get that, I do not know. Also, surely they're going to get a flyer, right? They're going to get some sort of flyer of some kind. Be really interested to see what that takes the form of, to be honest. A hovering Viking longship with engines on a mat? Oh dear lord, now I've said it, I really hope it's not that. That's terrible. Anyway, stick around. There's going to be more later on today because I'm going to try and play catch up over today and tomorrow. We are going to recover all the things. It's going to happen, whether you like it or not. Brace yourselves. It's incoming. Let me know what you think of this, lad, in the comments down below. In the meantime, feel free to click all the things, Patreon, video, subscribe, all that stuff. Click it if you like, don't click if you don't want to. And as always, there's an affiliate link for Element Games in the description, which you can use to support the channel if you'd like. There's also one for Noble Knight Games if you're in the US, because that way you can actually, buy stuff. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.